Welcome back, troops. Let's tab 59. The Rear Admiral, Walter Mitty. That's a cracker for us. Now, it's been in the news for a while, so maybe some of you heard of it, but what the pain meant, it has happened back on the actual event, the actual Walter Mitty getting caught out, happened last year, 2025, on Remembrance Service in North Wales, in Llandudno. Excuse my Welsh pronunciation. But the reason I'm talking about it today, it was on my radar then, the reason I'm talking about it today is because he's just recently, in the last couple of days, actually gone to court for this one. Now, it's quite unusual for Walter Mittys when they get caught out, they get outed online, etc. like Kill Switch, the wheelchair sniper. But of course, they're not breaking the law as such. But this one's a bit different because this Walter Mitty Rear Admiral rocked up in full Royal Navy uniform. So he wasn't wearing veterans kit, he was actually in His Majesty's uniform when he wasn't in the Navy. Now, choosing to be a Walter Mitty at the rank of Rear Admiral, that's probably what was his demise, because it's a 2-star rank. It's only 2 ranks down from the highest job in the Royal Navy. So it's unusual, it's a rarity, especially to rock up at a Remembrance Sunday parade unannounced. Officers of those ranks in all 3 services, high ranks like that, if they're going to attend a remembrance service or any functional parade in public, it's going to be arranged. In other words, the townsfolk, whatever city or town that he's going to turn up at, would have been informed that he was coming. He may have been invited. But on this occasion, this guy just rocked up out of the blue. But it's not the first time he's done it. In fact, he'd been showing up as a Rear Admiral since 2018. But the first time the suspicions were really aroused was in 2024, when he showed up at the same Remembrance Sunday parade in North Wales at Llandudno. So 2024, he rocks up unannounced in full uniform, medals, sword on this occasion. He actually carried his sword, wearing his sword. And a keen-eyed photographer, local photographer, back in 2024, saw him at the parade. He was taking photographs as the journalists and photographers do at these parades. And this particular photographer had a bit of military knowledge himself, because he had served in the Territorial Army and he'd worked with the Royal Air Force. So, okay, he's not Royal Navy, and he was only a territorial soldier, but he had enough experience to think, that doesn't look quite right. And he tried to get some photographs of him, but the Rear Admiral disappeared rather sharpish. So and off he went. So after that parade, when the veterans got together and the photographers there, they had a bit of chat about, did you see that Rear Admiral with all the medals? I'll get onto the medals in a minute. Did you see him? And they're all going, yeah, what's that all about? And they go, it didn't look quite right, and there's a few rumblings. So what they decided to do was, look, they said, right, if he rocks up again next year, 2025, we'll question him. We'll have a bit of a word with him. Lo and behold, last Remembrance Sunday, 2025, in North Wales, in Llandudno, up rocks the Rear Admiral. Didn't carry his sword this time, but he was again in full Royal Navy Rear Admiral's uniform, and a large array of medals. I think it's 10 or 12 medals he's wearing. You can find him online, pictures of him. The 65-year-old fake Rear Admiral. So, this time they were ready, and the photographer paid particular attention to him. And the photographer noticed that the uniform the Rear Admiral was wearing didn't look quite right. He picked up on the cut of the jacket, the tunic he was wearing, and that the length didn't seem quite right. So they had a bit of a natter, and a former Chief Petty Officer from the Royal Navy with 27 years experience was there. He walks over to the Rear Admiral, bangs a nice salute up, introduces himself, and says, "We weren't aware of you. We're not aware. What's your name?" So the Rear Admiral, the fake Rear Admiral, gives him his full name and then says, "Look, I can't hang around. I've got to go to a function with the Lord Lieutenant." And off he goes. He's away, sharpish on his toes. So they knew then he was fake. And they decided, after looking at it a little bit more, that they should report it to the police, because being a Walter Mitty is not an offence as such. If you're in civilian clothes, veteran clothes, and you're wearing medals that you haven't earned, it's only against the law if you've used that for personal gain, financial gain, or fraud. But if you're wearing full military uniform and all the badges of rank, etc., and you're not in the services, then that is an offence under the 1894 Uniforms Act. And that's what they're going to nick him under. That's what they nicked him under. So a few days after the remembrance, I think it was 9th of November last year, Sunday the 9th of November. Just a few days after that, the police they found him, rock up at his house in Llandudno, or Harlech, around that area, banged on his door. The fake Rear Admiral opens the front door and says, "I've been expecting a visit from you." So he knew he'd been rumbled. He probably knew on that day when that Chief Petty Officer, that former Chief Petty Officer, rocked up and sort of introduced himself and asked him a couple of questions. He thought, "I've been rumbled here. This is the real McCoy. This is a real ex-Chief Petty Officer. He knows his onions." And so they searched his premises. In his car, I believe, they found his uniform, this Rear Admiral uniform, and all the medals and the sword, etc. So the medals, what's he wearing? Well, you can look online, like saying, to see an actual picture of him. There's not been a lot of coverage on national press, really. It's been in a few newspapers, a little bit online, but there's not much. You can have a look. Just punch in fake Rear Admiral. So the medals he was wearing, I'm not going to go through all of them because I can't remember off the top of my head, but the ones that stick out, he was wearing a DSO, Distinguished Service Order. Now that medal is for officers that have been exceptional on operations, on active service. So it's quite rare for a Royal Navy officer to receive that medal. It's normally infantry officers, not purely infantry officers, but it's an unusual medal for a Royal Navy officer to have. So that aroused suspicion. The next medaling was an MBE. Well, yeah, lots of officers get the MBE or the OBE. That's quite common. But the next medaling was a medal called the QVRM. Now, a mate of mine, Richard, who runs a YouTube channel called The History Veteran UK, has got the QVRM for real. So a rare medal. There's only a few given out every year, and they're only given out to all three services, but they're only awarded to, they're not given out, sorry, apologies, they're not given out, they're awarded. They're only awarded to volunteer reserve service personnel, Royal Navy, Royal Marines, Army, Royal Air Force. So not given out to members of the regular forces. And to see a DSO accompanied by a QVRM is absolutely, just doesn't happen. I'm pretty sure it's nearly impossible for that to happen. So that aroused suspicions. Then he was wearing a General Service Medal, the class Northern Ireland, I believe. So he's a Northern Ireland veteran, apparently. He's wearing a NATO medal for former Yugoslavia, an Iraq medal, and an Afghanistan service medal, operational service medal. And then he got a few Jubilee medals and a couple of reserve decorations, reserve officer decorations. So, and like I said, I think it's 10 to 12 medals he got in total. All fake. Really bad. I mean, you know, the old wheelchair sniper we spoke about before, I mean, he wasn't in all his gear, he wasn't regaliaed up. He was just talking about what he'd done as kill switch the sniper. But this guy, you know, to wear those sort of medals, active service, you know, campaign medals, where we've lost personnel that have got those medals, I find that pretty bad. Now, another one he'd done, apparently, when it all come out in the open, was back in about 2018, this fake Rear Admiral rocked up at a Rorke's Drift memorial. Those of you who don't know, Rorke's Drift was quite a famous battle, made a film about it with Michael Caine, etc., about South Wales borderers out in Zululand fighting the Zulus, and they've made a sort of last stand attempt at Rorke's Drift. Very famous battle, a lot of VCs won that day. And it's something, especially in the Harlech area, or anyway, but mainly in Wales, it's very well remembered every year, memorial for it, because it's such a brave action. He rocked up at a memorial service for Rorke's Drift and gave a speech, wearing all his kit, started harping on about it. Now, that was in 2018. So like I say, he's been doing it for a number of years. Finally, he's been nabbed. To say he got arrested, or charged rather, well, arrested and charged last year after the Remembrance Service, 2025, but it's actually only just gone to court, to Magistrates Court, where he pleaded guilty. He pleaded guilty to the charge. And was fined £500, another £200 surcharge, and I believe it's £85 in costs. He didn't make a statement himself personally when he came out. His legal representative made a statement saying that, you know, he apologised, he didn't realise he was going to cause this much distress to service personnel, veterans, etc. You know, admitted he was wrong. Apparently, he did it because he wanted affirmation, he wanted, I suppose, some sort of recognition. He wanted to be part of the parade, etc. Not really a good excuse. And of course, he apologised profusely for what he'd done. He's an ex-school teacher, taught at private schools. I think he was English or history teacher. Now, his only real connection, this is the fake Admiral, his only real connection to the military was, I believe, in 1991, he was part of the CCF, the Combined Cadet Force. So, those of you who don't know, the CCF is for youngsters to join Combined Cadet Force. And normally in private schools, not just private schools, but in some schools in the UK, they run a cadet unit. CCF, Combined Cadet Force, and it covers Royal Navy, the Army and the Air Force. So the young pupils at the school can choose, if they want to go into one of those cadet forces, and the adults run it. Sometimes the teachers are members of staff. And so that appears to be what his connection is. He was at the school had a CCF unit, and he decided to join that. And that was around 1991. Now, if he'd have got a commission into the CCF, it would have been a reserve commission, and it was gazetted. That's his only connection to the forces. But obviously that wasn't enough for him. He wanted to go a step further, a big step further, a massive step further. Rear Admiral, 2-star rank in the Royal Navy, posing as still serving, not a retired veteran, a serving Walter Mitty. You don't get many of those, do you? I don't know. Actually putting on a full uniform, dress uniform with medals, pretty much exactly how a serving member of the Royal Navy, a Rear Admiral, would wear, and rocking up at a parade and putting yourself around for years from 2018. I mean, that is rare. And he's got nicked, I think, in the last 10 years, only about 8, I think he was the 8th person in the last 10 years to actually be charged under this 1894 Uniforms Act. So there you go. I believe if you're proper ex-serving, regular or reserve, and you're now out of the forces, and you want to wear your uniform for a particular reason, that you can approach the MOD somehow and ask for permission, but it's very rare. It might be a case of maybe a wedding or something like that. But I think that once you get permission, it's for that single time only. So if you're going to some sort of event, for some reason you wanted to wear your uniform again for that event, it is possible if you get permission, but it's only for that particular event. And I think also, I might be wrong, but I think you have to wear a small letter R on the uniform to denote that you're retired and not still serving. But obviously, in this Rear Admiral's case, that wasn't what happened. No, he didn't bother with that detail. He wanted to show you he was still serving and that he was a Rear Admiral. Of all the ranks to choose, what was that all about? I mean, obviously he wanted to impress people by the amount of medals he was wearing and the types of medals he was wearing. But what rank shall I do? I'm going to rock up and make out I was in the Royal Navy. Did a bit of time in the Cadet Force. Now choose a rank. I know. Rear Admiral, fuck it. Anyway, troops, that's enough from me. So, if you're new to my channel and you haven't subscribed, please consider it. I'm not saying do it, plain saying consider it. Thank you for the support I've been getting. Channel is growing steadily, very slowly, but it's getting there. You're really helping me a lot and I appreciate it. But please, if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. It'll help me out. So troops, till the next time, stay safe and stop dressing up as a Rear Admiral. Let's tab.